Ugh, yuck, 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 yuck. Let's check audio levels. How's everybody doing today? All righty, we're here. Alabama, Georgia, again for the national title tonight on ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, ESPN Deportes, ESPN 8 The Ocho, ESPN News, ESPN Classics, ESPN 3, ESPN Plus, and probably the Disney Channel tonight for this big game that people are poo-pooing because it's a rematch. I don't want to watch a rematch. Get better. Okay, so let's get into it. Obviously, people are already complaining about it, but these two teams have played, and Bama crushed them. I mean, I got the box score right here if you want proof. But people will say, Disney for sure, it's tough to beat teams twice. Not true. I don't have the exact stat because I forgot to bookmark it because I stink. But like rematches, teams are like 15-7, 16-7, something like that, because it rarely happens in college football. Of course, the last notable one was Alabama LSU, and LSU whipped them. Or LSU beat them the first time, and Alabama whipped them in the title game. But it'll be a fun game. It's an interesting game for sure because what adjustments? Let me pull up my fun banners here. What adjustments do Kirby and Lanning make? Now, the obvious answer is, you got to do what LSU did and Auburn did, and that's blitz, blitz, blitz. Get Bryce Young feeling the heat. Because when Bryce Young feels the heat, and he did a little bit against Cincy, there's people that have pointed this out, and it's accurate. He tends to become less confident in his receivers and less confident in his offense. And when he does that, he doesn't anticipate as well. He waits for guys to get open, and then he'll make a throw. Whereas against Georgia and some of his other great performances, he's anticipating, and he's just making elite throws. Actually, let's pull up an injury report. Of course, a couple guys went out in the we'll go to Sports Illustrated. I feel like they might be trustworthy, right? I meant to pull that up earlier. My apologies. But what adjustments do they make defensively? Offensively, we can get into that in a little bit. We're grab popcorn, sit back, relax for a little bit. Mechie, of course, Mechie's out. Job's out, and yeah, Jalen Armour Davis is questionable. That's big. Excuse me. Had a cough now for a couple days. That's big, but does Georgia have the weapons to really make that a thing? So, defensively, what can Georgia do to nullify not only Bryce Young, but Jameson Williams? And people like to point out, well, Mechie's out. And when Mechie went out the first game in the SEC championship, Alabama started to slow down a little bit. And while that is true, they also were sitting on it a lot more. They were just trying to run out the clock. Georgia wasn't going to hit big explosive plays against that defense. So sit on it, let the clock run out, bleed it. Let's get to a playoff. And that's what happened. But yeah, come on in, grab a water. I got mine because I'm still not feeling great. And let's talk about this game. What are your guys' What are your guys' predictions, thoughts, ideas? What's going to happen? going to happen in the last college football game for 8 months or 7.5 months. We got these two mega titans again. Who knows what the scene will look like next year with the transfer portal craziness right now. But let's get into what happened last time. Of course, Georgia went up 10-0 like that. First quarter, it was 3. They kicked the field goal. Second quarter, first play of the second quarter, Darnell Washington, of course, with a touchdown. Alabama came right back. Touchdown pass to Williams, then Mechie touchdown. Reichert field goal. McConkey tied it up on a 32-yard touchdown pass. Alabama come right back at the end of the half. Touchdown run by Bryce Young. Jameson Williams then a 55-yard touchdown run. Alabama with a pick six, and now it's 38-17. And Stetson Bennett's stats look pretty good from that game. 29 of 48, 60% completion, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. One of the picks came at the very end, so 1 pick. But when you go down 38-17, it's the classic Matt Stafford thing, where the Lions would go down 3 scores and Matt Stafford would just put up a bunch of numbers because he's down 3 scores. You're not going to run the ball. And so, yeah, Stetson Bennett his numbers at least, looked pretty good. Now, can he do that while the game's 17-10 or 14-10 or 10-10, whatever? Because I don't think Alabama's going to hit the shots. If Kirby and Dan live up to their reputation, of course, Dan Lanning's now the coach at Oregon after this game, worth their salt, they'll make adjustments. And Alabama's not going to hit deep shot after deep shot after deep shot. Agree. If Stetson has the ball to throw the ball 40 times, Georgia's not going to win. And I wanted to talk about this, and I guess we can get into it now because you brought that up. Can either team have success running the ball? These are 2 of the top 3 run defenses in the country, along with Wisconsin. Alabama ended the year a little bit better than Georgia, but Georgia's still one of the best defenses I've ever seen, and I've watched a lot of college football. But you go back to that game, Brian Robinson, 16 carries, for 55 yards. It's 3.5 yards for carry. Nothing special. Bryce Young was really the one that carried that run game. 3 carries, 40 yards. And he's going to have to do a lot of that this game. He's going to be able to have to come up with yards for this Alabama offense to constantly be churning out first downs. He's got to turn a 2nd and 9 into a 3rd and 3. You're right. Thank you. I thought one of the picks came late. My bad. Excuse me. So he's going to have to turn, 2nd and 9 to 3rd and 3, convert a 3rd and 4 with his legs. These are the types of plays that are going to win Alabama championships, and it's not championships, a championship. Can he do that consistently? Does he trust his legs enough to do that? On the flip side, James Cook, 11 carries, 38 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. Nothing special. Zamir White, 7 carries, 27 yards, almost 4 yards a carry, so a little bit better, but not great. And neither of those guys got run, of course, in the second half because it was a 38-17 game. And you're not going to throw the ball a whole heck of a lot or run the ball a whole heck of a lot. Someone mentioned it. It's a toss-up, but, you have probably a better team. I think Georgia, has a more better overall roster than Alabama does. But when one side has a better quarterback and the better coach, it evens all things out, which is what I warned people about in the SEC championship game. Yes, Georgia was murdering everybody coming into that game, just dumpstering people. And a lot of people thought Georgia might dumpster Alabama, but that's a dangerous thing to think when the other one side has Bryce Young and Nick Saban. It's a dangerous thing. And what happened is Georgia got dumpstered. They looked bad. Now they look, and people wondered before the playoff game against Michigan, myself included, on this channel, does Georgia have a glass jaw? Are they able to take the humiliation that was the SEC championship game, the humbling that was that, turn it around and use that as motivation to play better? We're all wondering it. Michigan wasn't a bad team. Michigan's a pretty good team. And they came out and hammered. They did what they did to Michigan, what they did to every other team this year outside of Alabama. Just dumpstered them. That wasn't even a game. I mean, I didn't do a recap for that game. I'm not going to do a lengthy recap, but I mean, you look at the box score for that game. My goodness gracious. Michigan ended with 328 yards of offense. Yeah, somewhere. That game was a massacre. And Stetson Bennett against Michigan looked really good. 20 for 30, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns. He looked really, really good. I guess a lot of the Michigan yards happened when J.J. McCarthy came in because McCarthy did look all right. But Stetson looked really good. He made some really nice throws down the field. It wasn't just like against Alabama where every throw it felt like it was an 8-yard hitch or an 8-yard crosser to Brock Bowers. He was hitting guys. He hit James Cook down the field a couple times. I mean, James Cook, 4 catches, 122 yards. Bowers, 1 catch to Jermaine Burton, but it went for 57. These are the kind of throws that Stetson's going to have to make tonight, especially if Armour Davis can't go, and Alabama's going to be a little thin at corner. Now, they're still going to be extremely talented because it's Alabama, so behind Davis is probably the number 1 recruit in the country at his position from 2019 or something. I don't know recruiting rankings completely, but getting back to the point at hand, which team, whoever has more, it's a very basic thing to say, but whichever team can have more success running the ball is going to win this game. If either team can average 4 yards a carry from their main back, Brian Robinson versus White and Cook, that team's going to win. And if they're getting 4 yards a carry, probably going to win convincingly. Because I can guarantee you both teams aren't going to run that well. And that's going to make things super easy for Bryce Young or Stetson Bennett and the Georgia offense and the Alabama offense. So a lot has been said about the betting, and a lot of the money is on Alabama, which is interesting to me because Georgia's still the favorite. Now, I understand why that is. We all watched that SEC championship game, gosh darn near a month ago. We saw what happened. It wasn't close after in the second half. It very quickly got out of hand in the second half of that game. Jordan, the score was 10-0 Georgia. And before you knew it, it was 38-17 Alabama. That's a 38-7 run against one of the best defenses college football's ever seen. So we all watched that game, but Georgia's still the favorite. Georgia looked better in their playoff game. Go Gators. We have a lot of time to talk about Florida, but not tonight. Not your night, guys. But there's a thing I wanted to talk about with Georgia. And I made a banner for it because it's something I wanted to absolutely talk about. Is it now or never for Kirby Smart and UGA? The correct answer is no. because of the way they recruit, and they've got talented quarterbacks coming in the last couple of years. The way they recruit and the talent and the coaching they have, they're going to be in the hunt every year. They're going to become a team like a Clemson, like an Alabama, where if they don't make the playoff, you're a little shocked. Clemson won 10 games this year, and we're all like, wow, what a horrible season for Clemson. Georgia's going to be like that. However, the correct answer is this is going to be the easiest time to do it. This is the biggest clear path they've had. They have clearly the best team on defense. They have a good offense, an efficient offense. Alabama is going through a retool year where we thought they might take a step back, and they did. They weren't as dominant as 2020. They're still here, though. Georgia's full of seniors and super seniors and these guys that these older guys. Well, Alabama's a lot of young pieces. A lot of Alabama's team's going to be back next year. Will Anderson will be back. Bryce Young's going to be back. The MVPs on both sides of the ball. Georgia's not going to have that next year. So it's not now or never for UGA. And I would like to get your guys' thoughts in the comments. I see from the Gator fan, and I'll touch on that here in a second. It's not that Georgia, if they don't win it this year, they're done. It's not one of those situations. But it is the easiest, clearest path they're ever going to have. Texas A&M's recruiting amazingly. They still need to get quarterback right. But I have to wait and see about Texas A&M because a lot of the SEC is recruiting better. A&M's recruiting better. Kentucky's recruiting better. Missouri's recruiting better. Auburn's recruiting okay. Like those are all teams that had top 15 classes. But I have to wait and see with Texas A&M. I think that's fair. Oklahoma, Texas. We'll see about those two. Texas is always going to be an elite recruiting. See what happens with Sark and Venables as head coach. Florida State will be interesting when they move off Norvell. I think Norvell's a good coach. I just don't think he's meant to be a coach at a superpower or a team that could be a superpower like Florida State. I think Florida State hires a good recruiter, like Deion Sanders, they're going to be right in the thick of things. And then Miami, the thing with Miami is I think Mario Cristobal is a really good recruiter. And we're talking about, for those joining, we're talking about Georgia. And is this Georgia's chance? Is this going to be the easiest opportunity for Georgia to win a national title for the first time since 1980? So I don't want to go too much into other SEC things. I want to focus on the game. But that was the context of the conversation. With Mario Cristobal, I think Cristobal is an excellent recruiter. I don't think he's a very good coach. I made that decision last night, watching Justin Herbert with no offensive line, receivers dropping everything to play as well as he did. I've made that decision that I don't think Mario Cristobal is a great head coach. Good, awesome recruiter. But I don't think he's a very good coach. So but as far as Georgia goes, so again, if they don't lose, it's like, well, they didn't win in 2022. That was their chance. They just blew it. Like you equate that to pro sports, and you're like, well, Cleveland 2016 against Chicago, that was their chance. They blew it. The Falcons against the Patriots, that was their chance, and they blew it. I don't think this is one of those kind of things, but I think this is the easiest chance they'll have because of factors like you mentioned, and just where Alabama is at this year, where we all thought this was kind of a retool year, where they're still going to be excellent, but they're going to take a little bit of a step back, and they did take a step back, but they're so good and talented. They're still playing for a national championship tonight in a few hours. You're all delusional. Keep what? Nobody's picking UGA to win. I know. I mentioned that earlier. The money is all on. A lot of the money's going to Alabama, which is interesting. Should be a fun game though. I know. Again, I opened the show kind of making fun of people because it's a rematch. I see Ohio State fans. No one wants to watch a rematch. I've already seen these two teams play. Okay, this is going to be a boring game. Yeah, like Ohio State when they got dumpstered last year by Alabama. Anyone who knew that they were going to get dumpstered in that game. But it does feel weird that the excitement and energy has kind of gone down for this game. I think a lot of the energy and excitement around college football has kind of died because of the reality of where we're living in right now. I'm not talking about NIL. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm just talking about the fact that we're now in an era where if you do not recruit at a top 5 level, you're not competing for the playoff. And all ESPN or Fox and all they want to talk about is the playoff. I'm watching a women's college basketball game. I'm watching Missouri, South Carolina women's basketball a couple weeks ago, and the halftime show wasn't about that game, was about the playoff. And it's a big moneymaker for ESPN, so they have to do what they have to do. But I'm watching I talked about this in my playoff review. I'm watching UCF versus Florida, and all I'm hearing is about the playoff. I'm watching the the Rose Bowl, an incredible game between Ohio State and Utah, and they talked about two things at halftime: the national championship, which was a week away, and complaining about the opt-outs instead of building up guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., which, my goodness, we're all getting old, and all the young guys for Ohio State, and talking about how awesome of story Utah is this year, rebounding from 1-2. The conversation was just, well, opt-outs. They don't love college football. They don't love football like we did at Kirk Herbstreit. So that's just in a spot where we are now in college football, and I understand why. Because all the networks care about is the playoff, and all the national media now, Dan Wolken, these guys are complaining, oh, there's too many bowl games. These opt-outs. It's amazing how many people hate college football that cover it. Whereas people like me, people like Mark, everybody that works on this with whatever channel in this network of channels, you guys in the chat, we're happy watching Pittsburgh versus North Carolina State on a 2:30 on a Saturday because the sport's awesome. There you don't get anything. There's nothing in the world like college football. It's awesome, and the emphasis on the playoff has just kind of ruined it for a lot of people, and I understand that. That's why I don't watch any of those college football countdown shows anymore. I miss Mark May and Lou Holtz blabbering on about nonsense. Anyway, back to the game. I get another big part is which version of Bryce Young shows up. Is it the Bryce Young that's skittish, who throws, who visually has to see a wide receiver open before he throws the ball? He's not anticipating. He's not reading defenses and throwing the ball where only his receiver can get it based on the coverages that he gets. Or is it going to be the Bryce Young that, like Georgia, where he's the opposite of that, where he's throwing balls way before people come open because he trusts his receivers, he trusts his offense, and he trusts his eyes. It'll be an interesting development as the game goes on. um, to see which version of that shows up. Because if it's the first version of Bryce Young, Georgia has a chance to really move. Georgia has a chance to establish a lead and start heating things up. They're gonna blitz more tonight than they did in the first game. And I realized in the first game when they did blitz, Alabama did a really good job of picking it up, and Bryce Young did a great job of finding an open Slade Bolden or Mechie or whoever and getting the ball out and on time and into a spot where the defense was weak. He's going to have to do it again. Bryce Young, I for those of you watching not on Alabama, the Voice of College Football Alabama channel, I've been covering college football for Alabama all year. I've done these kind of pregame, postgame shows now for holy cow, 4 months. The Bryce Young that played in that SEC championship game was the best game I've seen him play all year. He needs to replicate that performance for Alabama to effectively move the ball and have a chance to win this game. And again, I'm making it sound like Alabama's some vast underdog. I even think of the second version or the first version of Bryce that's kind of skittish. I don't think this is a blowout. But if Bryce Young plays at that level we saw in the first edition of the game between these two teams, Georgia's in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Because while Stetson Bennett is an efficient quarterback, when he's comfortable, Georgia's ahead of the chains. He's a very okay, good college quarterback in that situation. He's not elite. He's not an NFL quarterback. But when he can have 2nd and 5, 3rd and 4, he's very efficient. He can find Brock Bowers. He can find McConkey. We'll see what George Pickens. He's an X factor tonight. Because if George Pickens is healthy, it adds another dimension to the Georgia offense that they haven't had all year. But he only had, one catch against Michigan. He had one catch against Alabama. He had one catch against Georgia Tech. He's coming off a big injury. We'll see where he is. If Pickens is healthy and ready to go and becomes an impact player, that can only mean good things for Georgia. But Stetson Bennett, if Stetson Bennett's not a quarterback that's going to bring you back from down 3 scores. If Georgia falls behind 24-7, it's over. Where if Alabama were to fall behind 24-7, you wouldn't be looking and going, "Oh yeah, they're." You wouldn't be looking at it and saying, "Oh, they're fine," but you also wouldn't be like, "Oh, this thing's over. It's done." Because Bryce Young could bring them back from 17 points down. Yeah, as Georgia can't get behind the chains against UGA. No, they can't constantly be putting Stetson Bennett in 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s, or longer, because they're going to have issues getting first downs and maintaining the ball, keeping Bryce Young off the field. Goodness gracious. They're going to have to do that. Now, Alabama's run defense is so good. Georgia's not going to run the ball tonight. And someone said Georgia's going to have to establish the run. Yeah, but they're not going to. They're still going to. They're not going to stop the run. Okay. Even in the rebuild years for Alabama, they're still a game or two away. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like real rebuild years though. 2016, I don't remember because I don't remember the roster all that well in 2016. Like, was it a bunch of upperclassmen or younger guys? 2010 was really like the only bad season, and they weren't even bad. They were 9-3, and they were a play away from knocking off LSU and knocking off Auburn. Alabama doesn't rebuild; they retool, and they did retool this year because they weren't as good as last year. No one under the sun will say Alabama is as good as they were last year. Last year, they were one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient offense of all time. Heisman winner wide receiver. Yeah, it's crazy. If they blitz more, I'll hit them just a bunch of short laps and slants. Yeah, in concept, yeah, that's what you would do. The issue becomes, like I've talked about with Bryce Young, when Bryce Young's been getting heated up and he gets hit a few times, he starts not trusting his eyes, trusting his reads, and trusting his receivers. He has to physically see people come open. And while the receivers behind Mechie, I'm thinking like Early and Brooks, are supremely talented. They're not the route runners Mechie is, who can get open as get open in the underneath stuff as effectively as John Mechie can. So that'll be interesting to see. It'll be an interesting development as the night goes on, because George is also real thin at corner and safety. Who do you think will be leading at the half? Man, I'm going to be honest. I have no idea. I've sat down, 3 or 4 times on my laptop trying to plan things out. Like one of my talking points I want to hit on with this show. And I've tried to think of what do I think is going to happen in this game. And truthfully, I have no idea. I think it's going to be a better game than the first one. I can't see that Georgia defense giving up 41 points again. But I don't know if Stetson Bennett's going to throw for 390 or 380 or what do you throw for? 340 again. So I don't know. I have no idea. And Robert asked another question. A chance you see JT tonight? No. That'd be a bad spot to put JT Daniels in. And I'll be honest, it's a bad scheme fit. Or not scheme. It's a bad opposition for him because JT Daniels, well, Stetson Bennett's not Jalen Hurts. He can move a little bit. He has a little bit of escapability to his game where JT Daniels doesn't. And then you're going to put JT Daniels in his first playing time since forever. And you're going to he's a stationary quarterback, and you're just going to let Will Anderson attack him. Because if JT goes in, it either means that Stetson's been terrible and Alabama's fallen behind, or Georgia's fallen behind by quite a bit. Or, unfortunately, Stetson gets hurt. So if they're down, I'll just throw out this arbitrary score. They're down 24-7. JT Daniels goes in because Stetson's thrown 2 picks. He's like 9 for 20, 2 picks, and he's really struggling. Now you have to throw the ball nonstop with JT Daniels, and Will Anderson's coming. And JT Daniels isn't escaping that. So I don't think JT Daniels, you'll see him tonight. And I think it would be kind of a bad move. Because JT Daniels is also more liable to throw picks. I know Stetson threw 2 in the last game, including a pick 6. But Stetson's been really good at avoiding bad plays all year. The name of the game for Georgia tonight is efficiency. They're not – Alabama is with Jameson Williams is going to have the ability to hit big plays. And they probably will. I think you can probably count 1 touchdown per game for Jameson Williams of 50 yards, or 1 play for Jameson Williams of 50 plus. Maybe 2. And that's going to lead to 7 points. So you can go ahead and mark that down. Georgia doesn't have that ability with Stetson in their passing game against Alabama and that pressure, because Michigan's got Ojabo and Hutchinson are really good defensive ends. They're not Will Anderson, and they don't have the inside guys Alabama does. So Stetson's not going to have the time he did against Georgia. And maybe, I could be wrong. Maybe he hits another deep shot to Cook or Burton like he did against Michigan. He showed the ability to, but based on evidence, not outliers, Georgia doesn't have that ability like Alabama does. So the name of the game is going to be efficiency. And that's a dangerous game to play against Alabama because, and Stetson Bennett, or quarterback play in general, because if you get a false start or a hold or a negative run, you're putting yourself in 2nd and 15, 1st and 20. You don't have the quarterback, and with Alabama's run defense, you're going to have a hard time picking up first downs. Yeah, probably, because if Alabama's run defense holds like it has in now 14 games this year, Georgia's not going to be able to run the ball well. They'll run it, but they're not going to be able to run it well. They're going to constantly be in 2nd and 7s, 2nd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and Bama will bring the heat because Georgia receivers have to prove that they can get open. Now, if Davis is injured and Alabama is putting in 3rd string corners or whatever they have to do, maybe they don't to help out those guys, but I can't imagine. But Georgia's receivers aren't great. So if Georgia to stop that pressure is not going to have to stand up to the point of attack. What Georgia to do to stop that pressure is going to have to be to hit a deep shot, beat Armour Davis, beat the other corners down the field once or twice, 30, 40-yard gain, or some kind of screen and somebody misses a tackle and they get 30 yards. That's the kind of things Georgia's going to have to do to negate the Alabama pressure, because when Will Anderson's coming, there are a few forces on this earth that are 18 to 22 years old that are going to stop that kid from getting pressure. It's going to be an interesting chess match between Saban and Kirby tonight. Seeing a lot of people join. How are you guys all doing tonight or this afternoon? Thought I'd take a little break from doing a little work, do this preview for you guys. Mark graciously let me on all 3 channels today, not just the 2 I normally am on. I see a lot of people coming. Give your guy. What do you guys think is going to happen? What are your thoughts, ideas on this game? What adjustments are Kirby and Dan going to have to make? Just getting spammed by random accounts, so they're getting blocked. What kind of adjustments do Dan Lanning and Kirby have to make to not give up 41 points again? If Alabama puts up 41 points again, Georgia's not putting up 41 on Alabama's defense. In fact, I think there's probably a limit to if Alabama scores 30, this game's over. I don't think Georgia is putting up 30 points against this Alabama defense. Well, the interesting thing was in the first quarter, the Georgia defense stood up. Once we got to the second quarter and Georgia was blitzing, Alabama was picking it up and hitting short routes to Slade Bolton, Mechie, whoever. And then they just stopped. They just stopped. There has to be a different way, different pressures, different looks you can give Bryce Young. The adjustments where they just stopped, and the adjustment in the second half, people have overestimated that second half. Like, well, Alabama only scored the 1 touchdown or whatever in the second half of that game. Alabama was sitting on the ball. They knew Georgia wasn't coming back from 3 scores down. Mark looks different. Yeah, actually, this is a hostile takeover of the channel. It's like anonymous. Latu with 2 touchdowns. I'm sure Alabama fans will take that in a heartbeat. Him or Billingsley. Blitz. They have to. They tried playing coverage the middle of last game, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. They don't have the corners. Georgia's defense is awesome, but they don't have the corners to keep up with the talent Alabama has a receiver. They absolutely need to pressure more and find ways to get pressure. Make Bryce Young feel the heat. I got a couple people. Yeah, predictions for the game. I don't know. I've really tried to nail down what I think is going to happen in this game, and I have no clue. Because when you have a player like Bryce Young who can swing a game in two different directions, like if Bryce Young's pretty good, like if he's pretty good tonight, this will be a really good game, or has a chance to be a really good game. If Bryce Young is Heisman Bryce Young, this is a chance to get out of hand. I think since we've already seen it, I think Alabama can blow out Georgia. I don't think Georgia can blow out Alabama, but I definitely think Georgia can win this game. And anyone saying Georgia has no chance tonight's out of their mind. When I get back to it, people say that beating a team twice is tough in the same season. It rarely happens where you play a team twice. The most notable examples I can think of recently are, of course, 2011. 2017, Auburn beat Georgia, and then Georgia beat Auburn in the SEC championship. What were the other? I'm trying to think of another one. There's probably others, but in the history of college football, the team that won the first time wins like 70% of the time. It's kind of an old wives' tale that that's true. It's not really. But it's interesting because if Kirby Smart and Dan Lanning are worth their salt, and Dan Lanning is now the head coach at a major college football program with a lot of money and a lot of influence and a lot of potential, he will come up with a game plan to not shut down Bryce Young, because that's not happening, but to neutralize and slow it down. Alabama's offensive line. Yeah, Alabama's offensive line was great in pass pro against UGA. They played that well again. UGA is going to have a tough time winning the game, but you commented 2 plays later. I don't think they play that well again. Hardly they play that well again. I too don't think they play that well again. Maybe they'll play well. I haven't seen anything about the guys that went out last week are out today. Let me look at Georgia's injury report. I don't care about quotes. Don't care about quotes. Don't care about quotes, Dog Nation. Well, that wasn't a injury report. That was just a yuck. Oh, okay. Nothing. Okay, Georgia over Alabama isn't quite the same as Michigan over Ohio State, because that was a monumental upset. This is Georgia's favored. Ooh, good question. I wish you were here earlier because we talked about this. Because I mentioned I had a thing. Is like, is it now or never for Georgia? And of course not. They recruit at too high of a level. Kirby's a good coach. It's not now or never. But this is the most. How do I want to phrase this? This will be the best opportunity they have. You're not going through an Alabama team at the height of its powers. You rolled through Michigan. You rolled through the SEC East. It's not now or never, but this is the best opportunity to end that, 41-year streak? Feels like it sometimes. Yeah, Evan, I mean, he's a top, 10 pick coming up, probably top 5. Yeah, Evan Neal's an absolute stud. Getting back to this though, it's it's not now or never. I don't know what it means because you're not going to fire Kirby. Obviously, he's not even. He's so far away from the hot seat. Is he the safest college football coach outside of Saban, Dabo? Maybe. Well, Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. We'll see now with Brian Kelly. Maybe like Ryan Day. Like he's so safe. He could have a losing season and still probably be okay, which will never happen. But what it means is that they blew their best opportunity. Now that doesn't mean, hey, well, Georgia lost it in 2022. There's no chance they win in 2024. That's just not true. Georgia's going to be a program like Clemson, like Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma. Some of these schools were like every year it's like, well, they're in the playoff hunt. It's like, yeah, we know. Like with where the sport's at, there's only going to be so many programs that are going to be in the playoffs. And I got a Tennessee fan here. Well, I'm not a Georgia fan, so I didn't run Mark Richt out of town, to be quite honest. Yeah, okay, but Richt, first of all, Kirby made a national championship game in his second year. He's been consistently a top 5 team, and while Richt was a really good coach, he was a really good coach and underrated by some. There were times he didn't win the East from 13. When did he get fired? Was it after 15? So he didn't win the East after 2012. He went 3 years in a row without winning the SEC East. Because who won of those years? A really good Mizzou team. And I'm a Missouri fan. So when I say the 2014 Mizzou team is believe me. 2015 was Florida, and then he was let go. And when you're Georgia, yeah, your expectations are higher than 9-3. Kirby Smart safe. Believe me, he's in the national championship game for the second time in 5 years. He's fine. He'll be okay. It's just that this is their best opportunity to win it. Now, let's say they lose it, and then next year they go 9-3, and then the next year they go 9-3, and then the next year they go 8-4. Then we'll talk. But Kirby's safe right now. It's super safe. Let's see, was there anything else I wanted to get to in the comments? No. So I can move on to another point, I guess. A lot of people in the prediction comments. After tonight's game, it'll be easier. Have some confidence, man. You're favored. Look, I know Alabama blew Georgia out the last time. I know. I watched the game, and then I did a post-game show. I know. I was here. Have some confidence. You're favored. Georgia's a really good football team. Georgia is – these two teams are the two best teams in college football. This is the first time I have had no idea what's going to happen in a national championship since – let's see. Last year, we all knew who was going to win. 2019, 2019 was interesting, but we all knew. I guess 2018, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been like, oh, a national championship game. That's going to be fun. Have some confidence. Let's see. Bama, Iowa Wave. Yeah, I've been to Kinnick. Yeah, the Iowa Wave is incredible. It's so fun. Going to Kinnick was an experience. I saw him play Wisconsin in 2018. That was snuck into the student section. That was fun. All coaches fall off eventually. Well, except Nick Saban. Oh yeah, I'm sure if Georgia loses, they'll be rubbed wrong. But if you fire Kirby Smart, who's made a national championship, if Kirby Smart is let go at some point in the next 3 years, 120 college football programs will be calling him, including every other program in the SEC outside of Alabama, unless Saban's gone. Yeah, everybody loses their last 4 against Saban, except like somehow Ed Ogeron and Jimbo Fisher. Lane Kiffin's lost his last like 10. Or no, I'm just kidding. I know he's only been there a couple years. Yes and no. Like I said, the team that won the first matchups won about 70% of the time. But a lot of those matchups you've never really heard of because they're like MAC games. Yes, I do. I wanted to talk about Brian Robinson. That was going to get to before I saw a couple comments I liked. Brian Robinson hasn't been healthy all year, and I've been critical of the Alabama running game. For those that have been here on the Alabama channel, I can tell you how many people are watching on the Alabama channel. 2. So most of you haven't been here all year with me. Brian Robinson's been fine, but he hasn't been the big explosive running back that Alabama's used to. He was against Cincinnati because he's finally healthy. We all underestimated how hurt Brian Robinson has been. And because of the injuries to other Alabama running backs, he's really had to carry the load. And even when he's hurt, and Bryce Young's been forced to throw probably more than I think they want him to because of how hurt he's been and how little depth there is right now behind him. I think they will try to lean on him more because he's healthy and after a very good game against Cincinnati. The issue is Georgia's not Cincinnati. You can try and lean on Brian Robinson all you want, but the best you're probably going to get out of 2 runs on first and second down is 3rd and 5 most of the time. It's going to – you have to be able – Alabama's going to have to consistently at least attempt to run the ball. They can't get all pass heavy. But if Brian Robinson averages 3.5 yards a carry tonight, Alabama's going to be in decent shape. And we'll see if he gets. I don't think either team's going to average 3.5 yards a carry tonight. But yeah, Brian Robinson Jr. did look a lot better against Cincinnati than he has basically all year. And running for 200 yards will do that. Oh. Never been to St. Louis. The tap water here is impeccable. I went with a neutral blue for my banners instead of the typical red because I'm doing it on multiple channels, not just an Alabama channel. So I don't want to seem super biased, even though I'm not. That's what I thought I was an okay pick for the Alabama channel because I wouldn't be biased because everybody knows everything about that Bama program and I could present from an outside perspective. Okay. Billingsley replacing a good chunk of Mechie. Yeah, I mean the tight ends certainly would be a big pick. I think it'll be. I don't think those two directly impact because you can throw the tight ends still miss having Mechie. I look for more. I actually think it's going to be more Slade Bolden and Ja'Cory Brooks, which is what you saw against Cincinnati. You look at the bowl game. Billingsley only had 1 catch. Brooks and Bolden combined for 7. 7 catches for quick mental math, 97 yards. Shoot, Jameson only went for 7 and 62. Holy cow. Yeah, I brought up injury reports. As far as I can tell, everybody, the only player that Alabama's nervous about is Armour Davis, in the secondary. Because Job's hurt. Oh, it's the best thing in the year. College football Saturdays are the best time of the year. It's something I can look forward to after work every week, at least until hockey season, when I have to work nights. But at least there's nothing like it. Oh, thank God you present. I was like, sure. Yeah, 3 sacks. But it doesn't even have to be the sack totals. You just have to be consistently getting in Bryce Young's face. It doesn't. You don't have to necessarily bring him down with the ball, but if you're consistently hitting him off timing, making his throws off time, that's almost as good. Also, one thing I hate about the playoff is the playoff. So, but we won't have to get into that about how I despise the college football playoff, and I just for a multitude of reasons. Okay. You guys have been awesome. Thanks for tuning in. We'll go for a little bit longer for the heck of it, and then I'm going to do some work, and then I'm going to go watch the game. Pardon me as I check my phone real quick because I can hear it buzzing, making sure I'm not getting a call from anything ridiculous. I am not. Nope. Bama rolls by at least 14. Again, I don't. It's such a cop out, I know, but I just have no clue what's gonna happen. And I know it's a cop out, and I feel really bad. Believe me. Zach, what do you think's gonna happen? I don't know. Wow, you're a great analyst. I 350 for if Stetson Bennett's throwing the ball for 350, that probably means he's throwing the ball 45 times, and if that happens, Alabama's not, or Georgia's not winning that game. Yeah, Stetson Bennett, not really a quarterback. I want to be like, yeah, drop him back 40 times. How many times you drop back? 48 times against. Still only got 340, so it's probably gonna be more than 40 times. You went with a high-scoring game. I don't think Georgia can put up 37 points against Alabama because they don't have the ability to hit big plays. I don't think they can put up 37 points. Why don't they play this game on a Saturday? Because there's nothing else going on. I don't know. It's been like this forever. Like the BCS championship always used to be on a Sunday or a Monday. Well, they don't want to compete with the NFL. And the NFL is starting to do games on does games on Saturday. I mean, the game's late enough where I don't think it impacts work. I mean, what time's the game? 7:00 my time? Yeah, I don't think work impacts it a ton. No, and it never really has affected the ratings. College football ratings are going to never be bad. Like more people watched a bowl game between Mizzou and Army at whatever SEC team. Again, fans when I say whatever SEC team, and military school. More people watch that than Steph breaking the 3-point record. So, and Steph Curry is, one of the biggest athletes on the planet. I said this earlier with Pickens. Yeah, we can hypothetically say he'll have big plays tonight, but he's had 3 games now, and he hasn't hit any big plays. And Bowers isn't a big play guy down the field yet. He's an intermediate guy, which is what a tight end should be. He's Travis Kelce, which Travis Kelce will go for 12 catches and 120 yards because he's just a freak. Except Brock Bowers is maybe even a bigger athletic freak. It's not the Vanderbilt defense where Brock Bowers is just going to run downfield all night like he did against Vanderbilt or South Carolina or Missouri or whoever. Tennessee. I don't even remember how he did. I was at the Tennessee-Georgia game, and I don't even remember how he did. I was getting so cold in the third quarter. Knoxville was awesome, though. I know there's a Tennessee fan in chat. I had a lot of fun in Knoxville. I don't remember where we ate. I know we ate at Waffle House across from our hotel, but that was a fun weekend. Talking more about George Pickens. He had the one big play. Yeah, he did have the one big play, but Stetson Bennett and Pitt, they're not going to be tandem that's consistently going downfield. And Bowers is awesome. I love Brock Bowers. I don't want to just get in an argument with one guy, but he's not a deep threat against Alabama. Against Vanderbilt, yeah, but not against Alabama. There's a reason he caught 10 balls and 139 yards. He was getting 12 yards. He's getting 13 yards a reception because he's awesome. What's up, brother? Hope you've been having a good one. I hope you're going to really enjoy this game tonight. I don't care who wins. I mean, I don't know if I'm doing a post game. I texted Mark and said I could. But if I don't, whatever. But I'll watch Mark's post game, and I'm sure I don't really care who wins, but I'm sure whoever wins, I'll be having fun. Oh, you'll be doing a post game. Oh, big bet. Are you what? It should be a fun game. I'm excited for it. I'm more excited for this national championship than I have been. Definitely more excited than last year's. Last year's was always going to be ugly. And if there's Ohio State fans in chat, it's not just because Alabama was better, but Fields was hurt. Some other guys were doing some injury issues. That was never going to be a pretty game. And it wasn't. It was a very ugly game because Alabama and Devontae Smith did whatever they wanted. But someone mentioned, why is this thing on a Monday? I like it being on a Monday because it's the last big college football game of the year. The conversation after tonight is just going to be about the NFL. So it's the last night of the year where college football takes center stage, and then we're done for 7.5 months. We'll have recruiting, but when does hype season even start? 6 months from now? I like it being on its own night right now. We're kind of vibing. It is a shame that the college football season is almost over. I do hate that. Mostly because I'm going to delude myself into thinking my team will be better next year. But that's what we all do. Am I wrong? This is the year that my team is going to win 10 games and the quarterback's going to work out. But that's also the fun of the offseason. Why are you calling me at this time? Anyway. I can tell you in 2 seconds. As far as I can tell, okay, yes, thank you, Desmond, Mr. Upshur. Yeah, he's been practicing all week. I've read plenty of pregame stuff, or injury reports now stuff here. I haven't seen anything that he's out. The only thing for Alabama injury wise I've seen is Armour Davis. Will he be able to go? 46-year-old Georgia season ticket holder. Man, I wish I could own season tickets for my favorite team. Wins. Oh man, because it's never going to happen. But if Mizzou was ever this close, man, I feel you. I couldn't do this show. I would just be like, oh my god. But yeah, I can imagine. It's gonna. I remember the Blues, my St. Louis Blues being in Game 7 of the Cup Final, and I remember sitting outside Busch Stadium because I watched the game there at the Cardinals Stadium, just pacing outside. I got off work and they didn't let people into like 5:30, and I'm just walking around Busch Stadium for like an hour with my friend because we were so nervous. So I can only imagine. And you've been a fan longer than I've been alive. Excuse me. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All linemen are good to go. Like I said, the only thing I've heard about is Armour Davis or Red. Sit on my couch and watch the game. Yeah. I'm gonna sit on the couch and watch the game. I'm not going out with friends. Unfortunately, I tested positive for COVID like, oh good lord, 2 weeks ago, and I haven't gotten a negative test back yet. So the last test I took was Tuesday, and it took multiple days for me to get my results back. So I'm supposed to go to the Blues game Thursday, so I don't want to risk using my last take home, and then I can't get another test for a while. Anyway, enough about me. I think the entire country thought you had that game. Then Tua happened. Whew, man. I can only imagine getting that close to a national championship. But thanks to Missouri basketball, Missouri not being a serious program, and Mizzou football just not being at that level, I'm never going to have that opportunity. But I do have the Blues, who are really good this year, and I have the Cardinals, who don't try to win World Series. They just try to win wild card games. Yay. Anyway, enough ranting about my sports teams, because I could do that all day. I should get my own channel to do that all day. But then I would. But yeah, tonight's game. If you're not looking forward to tonight's game, you're just not a fan of college football, because these are so clearly the two best teams. And I've seen fans from other fan bases not excited. Ohio State, Big Ten fans mostly. It's like, well, get your programs up. Michigan shouldn't have been on. Michigan had a really good season, and Jim Harbaugh deserves every bit of credit he gets for this year because he took the pay cut. He changed his staff, and they had a really good year. They deserve to be in the playoff. Wiped off the floor, wiped off the face of the earth by Georgia in the first half. Same with Cincinnati. Ohio State got wiped off the face of the earth by Michigan. Lost to Oregon. Yeah, I don't care what Pac-12 fans think about this game, because their whole conference needs to get better, and hopefully the Lincoln Riley hire raises all the tide raises all ships. Where if Lincoln Riley's starting to get USC back into the nationally competitive scene, which he very easily could. They're going to have Caleb Williams probably, and he's brought in some recruits lately. Maybe now Cal gets better because I like Justin Wilcox, but Washington, we'll see what DeBoer does up there. The Pac-12 just needs to get better. The teams need to get better. You need to become a better recruiter, get better at recruiting, keeping guys in California. CJ Stroud's from California, Bryce Young, California. Keep those guys up over there, and the Pac-12 will stop having so many issues. Both defensive backfields are beat up. Yes, they are. Which could be interesting because I don't think Georgia has the receiving core Alabama does, but they're going to have to take advantage. I am just blocking Russian bots or whatever. Showtime. What did you comment? No. There are some things that need to be worked out. I'm not saying that it's perfect. There needs to be some kind of compliance office or something to keep stuff in check. I'm not saying limit how much money a player can make because that's ridiculous. Because these are sponsorship basically, they're like sponsorship deals, and we don't tell LeBron James, hey, Nike can only give you so much money. But there does need to be some sort of oversight, offense or office to just kind of keep things in check. But no, the bigger issue with college football is just how big it's gotten, and there just aren't enough competitive teams. NIL, I think, will help that. Like, I think there are guys that's like, okay. Let me get to your next comment. That's what I don't agree with is recruiting players on other teams. That's ridiculous. That should not be happening. That's where like an office, like a national, an NCAA or whatever clearinghouse or compliance office should be. Portal combat. That's where something like that should be in effect. But I don't think the NCAA is going to get that right. But no, I don't think college football is heading down like some kind of place that'll never return. There are more pressing issues to me with college football. One, expanding the playoff is an issue. I don't like the idea of expanding, because you're just making the regular season not mean anything, and it's the one sport where the regular season does mean something. And you're okay, whatever. Like, did you like the drama of that Michigan-Ohio State game? Doesn't matter. People are so concerned with, well, Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State are in it every year, and now you're just guaranteeing that even if Alabama goes 9-3 or 10-2, doesn't win the SEC West, they're going to be fine. They'll be fine. They're going to make it. They're going to be a top 15, top 12 team. So you're just guaranteeing more opportunity for those schools to win national championships. Go back to the BCS is what I'm trying to say. But I don't want to harp on that too much. But there needs to be some kind of clearinghouse. I don't think the NIL and portal stuff is like, oh God, is the end near for college football? No. But there does need to be something to keep things in check. Okay, showtime. If they go to 6 teams, fine. I can live with 6 teams. I can live with 6 teams. Actually, no, I can't. I only like 2 teams because we've had now 16 playoff games. 3 have been good. 3. Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Ohio State. Those are it. Those are the only 3 good games we've had. Everything else has been a blowout in the semis. In the playoff championship round, Alabama, Georgia was a great game. Clemson, Alabama with Deshaun twice was a good game. So you want to go further than I do, and you want to go back to like 2005, which I'm here for it. Make bowls interesting. Make bowls fun. Not bowls fun for me. I love watching Northern Illinois, Coastal Carolina go back and forth and score. I love it. But also I'm watching that game and the halftime show is nothing but the college football playoff. Instead of watching, hey, look at Grayson McCall. Look at this 45-yard run. No, it's so Desmond Ritter. You think he complete? Guys, the game's 3 weeks out. But Desmond Ritter. The balls to watch this game live. Oh, God. I can't remember the last time I taped and watched a game. It was pre-Twitter. It had to have been like 2010. I think I had basketball practice the night of Auburn, Oregon. And I taped the game with my friend, and we watched it at his house at like 9 o'clock. No, we had a basketball game, and we watched it at like 9 o'clock. And we kind of skip commercials and stuff too. That was cool. Yeah, and Alabama, Oklahoma State also would have been awful. Ohio State was a 4 seed. That's an outlier, though. Outliers aren't rules. And 4 seed Alabama won a national championship. Yeah, Alabama lost a weird game at Auburn. They were better than Auburn. They won a national championship. Yeah, regular season is the best in sports. Good Lord, man. I hope. We have 3.5 hours? Oh, man, I'm not going to be here for 3.5 hours. I still got to do some stuff. But yeah, I want to play. I want to watch the game. The BCS, for the most part, got it right. I mean, what are the biggest arguments? You had 2008 when you had the Big 12 South thing. Well, you had Texas, Oklahoma, not Texas Tech. Great season, but you lose. You're down 63 something at OU. You're done. So you had that. Then you had 2011. Don't lose on the road at Iowa State. What other controversies do we have? We didn't really have any. You had the thing like, well, Ohio State got bowl banned in 2012, and they would have made it and played killed Notre Dame. God, I love that. Going back watching that because there were so many analysts, and I'm not even talking like Skip Bayless, who is a clown. He just says things for money, but like people honestly trying to hype up Notre Dame, and it's like how many SEC teams would have murdered that Notre Dame team? Georgia would have beaten. Florida didn't have the offense to kill them, but they would have beaten them. A&M would have beaten them. Like, so, yeah, okay. No, because it's not. No, because Georgia's awesome. They're an awesome team. They don't have a Vince Young, who is a superstar. They have a bunch of really good players, but they're not those superstar players. And USC, yeah, Alabama's a better dynasty than that USC team was. And Bryce Young, if we're going equivalency here, Bryce Young, Matt Leinart, sure. But even this Alabama team doesn't have a Reggie Bush or Dwayne Jarrett. So no, like these aren't two teams that have just been like. It's because they're in the same conference. It's different, and they've already played. I was how old was I in 2005? I was 9, so I don't remember this. But like everything I've ever read about that, it was like those two teams were on a collision course all year for the Rose Bowl. These two teams have been in the same conference, and we're like, yeah, they're the two best teams. Cool. Basically the thing I've said about 7 times. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, well, and Jalen Armour Davis is questionable. I think I should throw that in there, being the professional that I am. Yep, he's out. Which is why Alabama, thin in the secondary, not untalented though, because all their replacements were probably top 5-star recruits, high-level 4 stars. They're not untalented, unproven. But again, I don't know if Georgia has their receivers, not tight end, because Bowers is awesome, but the receivers to really take advantage of that. If I have to give it, because I'm going to wrap things up here. I've been going for about an hour and a half. Wrap things up for too long. But if I have to give a score prediction, man, I'm going to go Alabama 24, Georgia 20. Do we see a JT appearance tonight? No, and because there's so many new people, and I don't know who's been around, I'll answer this question again. No problem. If JT Daniels comes in the game, that either means A, Stetson Bennett got hurt, which is something I don't want to predict or I hope happens, or two, Stetson Bennett is playing so terribly that they have to put JT Daniels in. And if Stetson Bennett's playing terribly, like I threw out earlier, like he's 7 for 20, 2 picks, and Alabama's up 24-7. JT Daniels might come in there, but I don't think he has any chance of leading Georgia to success because he's a stationary target. Will Anderson will hit him like 7 times, and he's also more liable to throw picks downfield than Stetson Bennett is. The name of the game is efficiency tonight for Georgia. Yeah, I would too. Excuse me. Oh, goodness gracious, that's embarrassing. The Missouri Tigers, unfortunately. Although we did bring in a top 15 recruiting class. And I like what Drinkwitz has done in the transfer portal. I like it. The T tackle from Oklahoma State, I'm really excited about. He was awesome for Okie State. And I like a lot of the talent they've brought in. Can we just get off? Can we not suck defensively? And can we get a quarterback? Not in the transfer portal, maybe, but can Cook Horn or Macon be something? No, because both Jalen and Tua are in the NFL, which is crazy. And Jalen's arguably having more success. It's Stetson Bennett's not an NFL quarterback. And despite what people say about JT, I don't think JT Daniels really is either. It's one of those things where if Alabama falls behind 24-7, I wouldn't be like, oh, they're primed for a comeback, but I wouldn't be surprised if they came back. Or if Georgia falls down 24-7 with Daniels in or Bennett in, I think that game's over. Go Tigers, MIZ, baby. Yeah, I will throw out Alabama 24, Georgia 21 because I have no idea what's going to happen. There's so many ways this game could go because of how great Bryce Young is and how he's looked in some games like Auburn, LSU, which necessarily isn't all his fault, but just in general. And I just don't know what to expect. Neither team's gonna, if there's only a few things I know. One, neither team's gonna be able to run the ball that well. If either team cracks 4 yards a carry, that team's gonna win by 3 touchdowns or 3 scores. In my opinion, I don't think either team's gonna run the ball that well. Jameson Williams is gonna have at least one big play, no matter the score. It could be Georgia could win 45-0. Jameson Williams is gonna have one big play. Brock Bowers will catch more than 5 passes because he's such an awesome safety net for Stetson Bennett. And Will Anderson will record at least 1 tackle for a loss. That's all I know is going to happen. I think they'll try and focus on establishing a run game, but the thing becomes then someone else must. Neither team's going to be able to run the ball effectively, but you have to be able to run the ball a little bit. Neither team, you're not going to see either running back go 20 carries, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's just not going to happen. Any of the 3 main running backs, White, Cook, or Robinson in this game. But for the play action to work, for the passing game to work, to keep defenses honest, you're going to have to run the ball a little bit. And can running the ball get you into a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4? Because if either team is consistently in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, especially Georgia, they're in trouble. If Alabama's in 3rd and 8, you're not happy about it, but you're at least confident Bryce Young can make a throw. Because I think Bryce Young leading like a constant – Bryce Young will be like Justin Herbert last night where I think you're confident he can make a throw. Because, my God, that was the worst That was the worst 2 minute. Justin Herbert went like 6 for 18 on the final drive, and they scored. That was abysmal. um, yeah, probably. But again, what do you mean by establish? Because you're not going to be able to just run the ball at will. Alabama's too good. And Alabama's not going to be able to run the ball at will. Neither team is going to run the ball at will tonight. But if you can kind of consistently be getting 3 yards, you're in good shape. The thing that Georgia, it's not that if Georgia can hit big plays in the run game. That's not what's going to be the big thing, because they're not. Probably. All evidence points to no. The thing is, can Georgia avoid negative plays in the run game? You got to keep Stetson Bennett out of 3rd and 12, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 9, in that range. He needs to constantly be at worst 3rd and 6. But he's a good quarterback. Stetson Bennett's a pretty good college quarterback. When Alabama won, I'm gonna go into one last little thing, and I think I'm gonna hop off so I can get back to work for a little bit. But this point will take a little bit, and you guys feel free to chirp in. When Alabama beat Georgia in the national or in the SEC championship a month ago, I came on here and did a post-game show. A lot of fun, a lot of energy from the Bama fans, a lot of self-loathing from Georgia fans, which is expected after a game like that. And the main thing I kept seeing from a lot of people, you can't win a championship with Stetson Bennett. You can't win a championship with Stetson Bennett. It's not going to happen. They're not going to win with Stetson Bennett. Play JT Daniels. Stetson Bennett can't do this, can't do that. He can't win. And I got on there and I warned people. Yeah, Stetson Bennett wasn't great tonight. The numbers look okay. He threw for 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. But the game got out of hand, and they were constantly having to throw the ball just to get back in. But I warned people, Georgia's in the playoff. They're going to smoke whoever they play in the semifinal, more than likely, or they're going to beat them, not smoke them. I didn't think Georgia would smoke Michigan, but they did. They beat them though, and they're going to play for a national championship, which means they're going to be 60 minutes away with Stetson Bennett from a national championship. I didn't want to lay down the statement that Georgia can't win a title with Stetson Bennett, because odds are tonight they're going to be probably a quarter or 30 minutes away from winning a national championship with Stetson Bennett. This game, I don't see it, and I took this from a YouTube channel, the College Football Nerds, another great college football channel. And I've used it in a lot of my predictions too for this game, whether it's talking to people or this. Alabama's not going to score 40 points again, I think. They're not going to score 40 again. Georgia's not going to. I don't think Georgia has the offense to blow out Alabama. This game's going to be in the mid-low 20s. And when a game is in that range between two amazing teams, one play can make a difference. A blocked punt, a missed deep shot, a pick six, a fumble a fumble at the 25-yard line where you've missed out on 3 to 6 points, and then the other team goes back and it's a touchdown, and that's a 14-point swing or a 10-point swing or something like that. One play like that can make all the difference. And it's hard to judge games like this. A special team, a 15-yard penalty on 3rd and 13, and now it's goal to go. Things like that impact these low 20s games more than a 41-24 game like we saw a month ago. I think this is going to be a close game, and it's hard to judge because one weird play can make something happen. And that's where I didn't want to lay down a blanket statement of you can't win with Stetson Bennett, because they're 60 minutes. Georgia's 60 minutes away from winning with Stetson Bennett. And more than likely tonight, if my idea of how I think the game's going to go, at least the score, they're going to be 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away. Um, so we'll see. Georgia, yeah, they could win a national championship with Stetson Bennett. They're close. Now, Stetson Bennett does need a quarterback like Stetson Bennett's going to need a team like Georgia has. He can do it. That's a good point because it Georgia went up 10-0 in the last game, and you could tell Alabama wasn't nervous. Like they weren't. They were like, okay, you gave us your punch. Here's our counter. And after that, it was a 38-7 run. If Alabama goes up 10-0 or 14-0, how does Georgia respond? Do they respond with a touchdown or do they melt down? That'll be a big part. That's actually a really interesting point. I like that point a lot. I don't think it'll get to that point because I think this game's going to be pretty tight throughout. But yeah, hypothetically, Alabama gets the ball, scores a touchdown, forces a fumble, pick, 3 and out, whatever, and then kicks a field goal. They're up 10-0. We're in the first quarter. Georgia's getting the ball back. How do they respond? So you got Georgia winning, I assume. Okay. Because that makes it sound like you think Georgia's going to be up like 20-10 or something, or 24-10, 27-10, and then kind of creep back into it. Wait, didn't you comment earlier your score prediction? Yeah, I'm not going to go that far up. But yeah, I mean, for Georgia, the keys tonight, and this is going to sound so generic, you can throw me on ESPN. Getting anything out of the run game, anything, getting 3 yards a carry and stopping big plays. No 50-yard gains for Jameson Williams, no 30-yard run for Brian Robinson, or you're getting consistently gashed in the run game. That can't happen. And on the flip side for Alabama, can you force more turnovers? Can you get Bryce Young comfortable? Can you establish any kind of run game? I mean, yeah, 1 second's a lot, but yeah, you're not wrong. Got to give him less time to throw. The thing that Bryce did so well in that SEC championship too is when Georgia was getting pressure, he was just simply stepping up or sliding to the right, sliding to the left, or just taking off and getting a few yards. He only did run the ball 3 times, but you just take off and he got 10 yards on one, get a first down. Can he do that? He's certainly athletic enough, and he's good enough and fast enough to pick up a 3rd and 6 here with his legs. And he might need to do that a few times tonight because I think Georgia's going to blitz him a lot more than they did a month ago. That's what I'm most interested by is what are the adjustments Georgia makes from this game compared to a month ago. My God, that game was a month ago. Alrighty, that is an hour and a half. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and take off. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys were awesome. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Enjoy the game tonight. It's the last game of the year. I know we got a lot of Georgia fans, a lot of Alabama fans. I hope you guys realize from a fan of a team that's never going to play for a national championship, barring something crazy, how special this is. Like, I know, like for Alabama, like, oh, another national championship. Georgia, oh, we're back again. Most teams don't get to this point. And this is a special moment for both of those programs. Embrace it. Have fun. If I'm here tonight, be nice. If you're watching Mark's recap or whoever's doing who's here earlier, we have Brett, I think was his name. Sorry if you're here and I don't remember. Um, he's doing a show. If you go to his show or whatever, be nice, be cordial. We don't need to be mean to each other. This world would be a lot better. It's just sports. Um, Lord knows I can be mean. I was mean to Dallas Stars fan yesterday. Just have fun. Have a lot of fun. Enjoy the game. It's the last game of the year. We have 6.5 months before we even start hyping up college football again. And we have 7.5 months until the season starts. Have fun. Enjoy the game. Have some good food. And we'll be back here tonight. Mark will be here, I assume. I don't know if I'll be here, but you guys will watch because whatever. Thanks, Mark, here at the Voice of College Football. Subscribe, hit that like button. Subscribe to the Voice of College Football SEC, Voice of College Football Alabama. Subscribe to our whole network of channels. Most teams, a lot of the major teams have a channel. Nebraska, Georgia, USC, whoever, Miami, Florida State, Florida. Subscribe. They're all channels run by people just like me who just love this sport, want to talk about it, interact with other college football fans. Have fun. Just have fun. It's been a fun and exciting season. I know, we ended with Georgia, Alabama, but if people forget 2000, everyone compared the season to 2007. That season ended with LSU, Ohio State. The big names are always going to be there at the end, but the true college football fans are the ones that enjoy the journey, not just the end. If your life's all about the playoff, then you're not. If you can't enjoy watching South Carolina, Missouri, that's a bad example because both of those teams are. Ugh. Although I like where they're both headed recruiting wise. You can't watch a game between two top 20 teams, even though neither has a chance at the playoff. You don't love college football like us and us in this chat. So enjoy the game. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, like, have a good night, and I will hopefully talk to you guys soon. If I'm not doing a post gamer tonight, I'll probably try and do one tomorrow at some point. I'll talk to Mark. Have fun. Yep, it's all about the journey, guys. The journey ends tonight. Good luck to both teams, and hopefully no major injuries. And I will see you guys soon to talk about this game. Thank you once again so much for being here. And have a good night for the 100th time.